Hello everybody and welcome to WASD 20. My name is Nate and today I've got a quick mini painting tip for you. Today's tip is how to make a wet palette. First off, why would you want a wet palette? You would want a wet palette mainly because it will keep your paints wet a lot longer, obviously. One of the problems that I've had when dealing with a traditional palette, this one's gotten a lot of use, is that I'll put my paint in here and I'll be painting and I'll come back 5 minutes later and the paint is completely dry. And then I have to get more paint and I just end up wasting a lot of paint that way. So I've discovered the wet palette and I'm never going back. What I've got here is I've got just an old dish that my wife was throwing out because it's got a chip in it, and this is kind of a saucer, but you can use all sorts of things. I've used these lids in the past for containers. The problem with these is there is a trench around the edge and it doesn't tend to keep the water in the middle. It'll work, it'll do the job for sure, but I do like something that has the water going toward the center more. So you'll need a dish or container of some sort. Look around and see what you have, and then you'll need some paper towels. I've got 2 paper towels here. I'm gonna fold these in here actually, and I'm gonna add some water. I'm not gonna add too much. It is possible to overdo it for sure, and I have before. Alright, so I've got a good amount of water poured in there now, and I just use regular tap water. Pro painters would always use distilled water. I don't have any standing water in the bottom here, and I just have the paper towel totally saturated. And the next thing I'm going to need is some parchment paper. So I've got my parchment paper, and I'm nothing fancy here, just kind of cut a rough shape that will fit my plate. And now I'm pushing this, and you can see if I push around the edge too much, I start to get water drops on there, but I'm just going to push it down, and I want some of the water to come through. It is permeable, so some of the water will come through. And you can see that if I feel this, I pull in my hand, it's just a tiny bit damp. That's what I want. Now I'm going to take some paint. I happen to have some Citadel paint here, and you can see I haven't used this one in a while. It's got some gunk in it, but I can just take a little bit and dab it on there, and that is getting a little bit of water into the paint, and it's just going to thin the paint a little bit, which is an important part of painting miniatures. You want to make sure your paint is nice and thin. Better to be too thin than too thick, and it is also going to keep it moist so that I don't have to keep. So this palette is going to keep my paint wet for a long time, possibly even hours. I won't have to apply more paint. You can just put a lot of paints out there and it'll keep them nice and wet. I've even had it where I've left it out overnight on accident and put something over it and just kind of piled some things on top and forgot to wash it. And I woke up the next morning, lifted it up, and it was still wet and usable. So it's a really great tip that has really changed the way that I paint. That's all for this one, everybody. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. And happy painting, everybody. Take care.